an assembly that is used that is for dampers. Notice the flange there, that can break. This string can give up the ghost, it can break. This little pad can come off or be compromised to the point where the spoon, which pushes it in, when you press on the whippet, it presses this way and makes the damper move away from the strings. If this were complete, there'd be a little damper here with pad that would go up against the string. And then when the spoon presses here, and I know you don't understand that, but it's a little gizmo that's in the piano to make it move away from the strings. When you let the key go, this will come back and put that damper back up. Well, any of these things can break and need to be repaired. And I think that it would be wise for a piano owner always to keep repairs up, not to let repairs go without being done, because you end up having a lot of repairs in one batch, and it's always more expensive. But the second aspect of this is the problem this presents if you don't take care of your repairs as they come up, is that your piano becomes less and less tunable. You can't tune a piano well that's in ill repair, especially some things. Now you're hearing my grandchildren perhaps in the distance. This is a home here, you may have noticed, and you're probably going to hear some children sounds in the background. People are coming over for a church meeting here, and you're going to hear some noise here as people come through the door. Well, at any rate, you can't tune. Let's just say that this piece right here, this is called a shank. Let's say that's broken or is weakened and compromised. When you play the note that is played with this particular hammer, it's not going to sound the way it needs to get a good tuning. You might have a number of other things that could be wrong with that hammer assembly that would keep you from tuning the piano properly. When we were talking about not having let off properly, or not having the proper dip in your key, when that is the case, the hammer can press up against the strings and not let them vibrate. Well, obviously, if I'm over banging away at your piano trying to tune it, and that happens, I can't tune that string at all. I can't even tune the octave. I can't put the temperament into that note in relation to the other notes. I had a friend in Kalamazoo, Michigan, who was also a tuner, and he went to a lady's house who'd had a piano for years and years and just never had any service done on it. And she wanted to come and tune it. He went over to tune it and found there were so many things wrong that he had spent the whole time that he had designated for tuning just to fix stuff on it so he could tune it. And he had to reschedule another appointment so that he could come back and tune it later. You don't want that to happen. It's very important to keep your piano in good repair. There are some kinds of service that I don't do. And by the way, I should stop here and revert back to what I was saying before. I didn't include voicing in my list of basic services. I don't specialize in voicing. Some people are very good at it. I can do it, but it's not one of my specialties. I do mostly spot voicing for people, try to fix a note that doesn't sound quite right. But one of the reasons I didn't separate it into a separate maintenance procedure is because really everything we've talked about, tuning and regulation and repairs, all have to do with the voice of the piano. An out of repair piano, an out of regulation piano, an out of tune piano will be a piano whose voice is not what it should be. But I should say that there are some things that are particular to voicing that could be called voicing proper. Let's say that you have a hammer that's just too soft, and it gives you kind of a mushy, round sort of sound that you don't want. Well, that hammer can be hardened. We have lacquers that we can put on those, and other things that we can do to harden that hammer. Now, what if it's too hard? It has a kind of clanky, piercing sound when it hits the string. Well, there are things we can do about that too. We take little needles, and that are designed for this kind of work, and we poke your hammer in certain places to make the resistance a little less, and do things to it that will mellow the tone a bit and make it not so hard to cope with. Also, another element of voicing, which is also an element of regulation actually, is that your hammer, which is attached to the action by this flange right here, there might be some warping in the flange, or there might be some other reason why your hammer might be kind of curved that way. We call this traveling the hammers. And when it comes into the strings, it comes in an angle. Well, now let's pretend that my 3 fingers here are 3 strings. If this is coming in, say, at this angle, and I'm greatly exaggerating this for the purposes of illustration, obviously this string over here is going to be hit by the hammer first. These are going to be later. And that's going to mean that one string, the one on the left, is going to start vibrating earlier than the others, and so they're out of sequence with one another, and what you get is a kind of whine. Sometimes it sounds almost like a cat meowing or crying in the night. It's also possible that your hammer needs to be reshaped. It's not hitting the strings correctly that way. Sometimes, as hammers get older, they get grooves in them, one for each string that they hit, and for whatever reason, one of those grooves may not be as deep as the other grooves, or each one of them may have a different depth. Well, what happens is when that hammer hits the strings, again, that groove that isn't as deep as the others hits its string beforehand and just starts that string a fraction of a second early, but that's all it takes to get this impure movement and sound in the string. And you can move your tuning hammer and try to fix that problem until the cows come home, but until that problem is fixed and this hammer is fitted to the strings properly, it isn't going to go away. It doesn't matter how hard you work to tune it. So that's another thing that we can do for your piano. We can fix ugly sounds by proper voicing and make your piano a little more mellow, if that's what you want, or a little more brilliant, if that's what you want. Now, in conclusion, I'd like to say that there are things that I just don't do. I am not a rebuilder. I don't have the setup for that, and that takes a person with a place to do it and a lot of special skills. And I haven't prepared myself to do that, and I don't have the place to do it. So I let somebody else do that. There's also restoration, which is something that I don't do. Not very many people do that. Then there's also the installation of humidity control devices, which are very good for your piano, and I'd really recommend that you have that done if you haven't had it already. I used to put them in, but I don't. It really bothers my back and it really bothers my leg, and the money I get paid for it isn't worth the pain I endure for 3 days after putting one into somebody's piano. I will help you to maintain them. I will replace the pads that go in them, make sure you've got the right amount of liquid in them, and reline the water pan. Those kinds of things I can help you with, but the actual installation I would refer you to somebody else for. And in that connection, I want you to know that there is a page that you can get to that's just links on my website. You just go to the links tab on the home page. It'll take you right to those links, and there aren't many on there as I speak right now, but there will be a growing number of links with descriptions of what those links are for, who they go to, and what that person can do for you that I cannot do. I feel that I want to help you in every way to have a satisfactory experience with your piano and not have the frustration of trying to find somebody to do something when really there are people to do it for you. You just have to have sort of a little trail to them.